In our today's class, we are going with primary market. Primary market, or as you say, the new issue market, which is part of capital market. It's otherwise called as fresh issue market or market where securities are issued for the first time. It's actually, if you ask me, is it part of money market or capital market? I would say it is part of capital market, where the securities, when it is issued for the first time, it is said to happen in a primary market or new issue market. But in reality, there is a scenario, a condition in which securities are issued for the first time, or maybe initially companies or corporates approaching the market for the first time through issue of shares or debentures or bonds. All that is said to happen in a primary market. And once already issued in the primary market, these securities will be taken to the secondary market for their transaction, for offering liquidity to them, for buying and selling of these. Secondary market mainly constitute the stock exchange, or as we call stock market. Okay. With this introduction, we are entering into the second module, that is primary market. So as I said, it is that part of capital market that deals with issue of new security. That's a coin word, the issue of new securities. And then when we look from the perspective of an investor, if really, suppose I'm going to apply to the public issue, to the share offering made by one company. Say, imagine the Coal India is coming up with additional shares from the market. They are going with, they already have gone with issue. They have been listed in the market, but they are going with the additional issue for the meeting their extra capital requirements. They are going with the share issue. So if I want, as an investor, if I want to participate in that, definitely I have to have three mandatory things. One is I have to have a PAN number, permanent account number. To participate, I have to give that, it's mandatory. And the second one is I have to have bank account details, because transactions would be carried out through my bank. So that is why I have to have a bank account. And the third one is I have to have a demat account. That's a short form, dematerialized account, where we know that now we generally don't have the physical existence of share or debenture document. It's all in the dematerialized form, where it's maintained online. Depository participants and my broker would be in charge of keeping my account intact. That's where when I purchase a share, automatically what I can know is the shares, that much number of shares and the amount, it's already there in my account. So that's an online system where my account is maintained. So that's why we say that if I have to participate in new issue market, I definitely have to. Companies can offer shares, but the thing is, I cannot directly purchase it from companies. I can purchase it through an intermediary, uh, that is my broker, or I have to apply through my ASBA account. That we will talk about that at a later stage. I have to apply through my banker. But definitely I have to have a demat account, because my share would be having a non-physical existence, where it is maintained in the materialized form. So that's why I need to have a PAN number. I need to have bank accounts in my name. I need to furnish the bank account details to my broker. I also have to have a dematerialized account opened with a broker. Now, broker can be any. It can be Geojit, it can be Hedge, it can be Sharekhan, it can be Moneywala, or any other broker as I prefer. Okay, so these are the three mandatory requirements. Now, the functions of new issue market. See, as our discussion on new issue market progress, We will be discussing about many intermediaries, which will include merchant bankers, or as we say, it will include merchant bankers are professionals who are engaged in assisting trading in stock market, who are investing in stock market. They also carry out technical and financial feasibility studies on behalf of different companies, all these. So we have merchant bankers, we have investment bankers, bankers to issue, we have brokers, okay? Then we have other, like as you say, no, agents, uh, all these people who will be acting in different roles for facilitating the transactions that is happening in a money market. I mean, in a new issue market. Okay. So based on that, the functions performed by a new issue market can be categorized broadly into four. Okay, four categories. The first one is origination. Origination is nothing but, you know that when will a company approach the market? When they are in need of money, right? When will government approach the market? Again, when there is some kind of financial requirement. So definitely they will have to explain why they are approaching the market and how they are approaching the market, which needs a careful planning, preparation. There are a lot of documents that needs to be furnished with SEBI for coming into the SEBI is, we know that, Security Exchange Board of India, for coming into the market with their issue. Now, types of issue we are not discussing now. We will be discussing in our next class. So they have to go with furnishing lot of documents through which they have to prove the technical and financial feasibility of this offer. That is, technical feasibility means they really have to say how they are going to offer it, how much is it, through what all channel they are going to offer it, who will be assisting them in this process, and how are they going to manage this fund, right? This all talk about the technical feasibility. Then appointment of different intermediaries to an issue. Financial feasibility is they will be looking into what is the kind of return they expect, and what is the cost involved in this sourcing, and also how do they manage to collect it from the investors. So both technical and financial feasibility aspect, in general case, if you look into the market condition, that will be taken care by assessing. That is, when a company or a government, or maybe any other semi-government body, when they are planning to float the fund, float the issue, the technical and financial feasibility normally will be undertaken by merchant bankers. They will be looking into the different stages, the different document aspects, appointment of different parties to this issue. All these will be taken care by merchant bankers. Okay. And now, in the present scenario, if it is a large issue, there would be investment bankers who would be facilitating with the technical and financial feasibility assessment. Okay, so that is the first stage, origination. You are preparing for an issue. And then propagation. Propagation is nothing but you are communicating to all the stakeholders. You have to communicate correctly, starting with the regulators. Regulators can be the government, primarily to SEBI. You have to go with red herring prospectus. If it is a company, you have to upload it. You have to get the approval. So that is, you are informing. You have to wait for some time till you get the approval. All that will be part of propagation. Second is you have to advertise through. See, we have learned two types of, like, private placement and public issue. Private placement is when you are planning to make the offer to a specified group of people, right? To a specified category of people. So if that is your intention, then you have to make yourself, inform them, or get yourself into the process of informing these people who are going to subscribe to your issue. or if it is a public issue, definitely we have to come up with mass communication through maybe newspaper or maybe through other print media, of course through the SEBI website, then through your company website, you have to inform. So that's the next stage, what we call as propagation. Okay. Now the third stage, you know that underwriting. Underwriting, we are going to discuss that little more detail about different types of underwriting in our next slide. So underwriting is, it's actually a guarantee. There are a lot of underwriters. I put a few prominent names of underwriters in Indian market: Life Insurance Corporation, Unit Trust of India, Indian Finance Corporation of India, Industrial Development Bank of India. All these are prominent companies which are engaged in the underwriting business. And why do they do this underwriting business? They do it for a commission. Okay, fee. They do it for a fee. And what do? They actually guarantee that they will take up the share if not subscribed by the public. If it is a public event, if the share has not gone with a prescribed amount of subscription, they cannot go with the public issue. That's what SEBI has as per the guidelines. So you cannot go with the public issue. So in that event, that will be a huge loss to the company because they have gone with mass communication, they have undertaken the feasibility study, they have appointed all the intermediaries to this issue. After doing all these, if they are not going to receive the minimum subscription, they will have to stop the process. That will incur a huge loss to the company. So in order to avoid that, generally the companies will be having an agreement with the different underwriting bodies, that is to subscribe to, if the subscription, if the issue is not subscribed by the general public. In such a case, these underwriters will come and they will take up what is required for proceeding with the issue process. So that's what we call as underwriting. That is a guarantee that if not subscribed by the public, it will be taken up. Not the whole thing. They will have different conditions. There are different types of underwriting, but the general is it's an agreement to take up what is not subscribed by the public. Distribution. There are different types of distribution method, but the most common method is they will appoint bankers to issue, and through bankers the issue process will happen. Like, sometimes it will go with pro rata allotment because the company might be planning to issue 10,000 shares, but they might have received application for maybe 20,000 shares or maybe 25,000. In that case, the company will have to go with allotment on the basis of pro rata, that is proportionate allotment. So all these things generally will be taken care by bankers to issue, and also the merchant bankers who have been appointed for issue management activities. And definitely they will not be doing that at free of cost. They will be paying money as commission or fee. And what they do is they will take up, they'll invite the application, and then they will verify. And if it is oversubscribed, there are different types of issues, okay, like green shoe option, book building process. All these we are yet to discuss. I'm just discussing the primary aspect now, the primary features of it, which we will expand at a later stage. Okay. So these people would be distributing on the basis of the application prescribed. Application which they have received can be oversubscribed or undersubscribed. If it is undersubscribed, there is no issue of like pro rata or proportionate allotment and all. But if it is oversubscribed, that is, if the total number of application received is more than the actual that can be issued by the company, then the company might decide to go with pro rata allotment, proportionate allocation. So all these will be taken care by the issue management companies and bankers to issue. Bankers to issue are generally involved in collecting the money from the public while inviting the application. Sometimes, say I have applied for 2,000, I am given with only 1,000 shares. So the remaining money need to be deposited back to my account. if it is not an ASBA account. What is ASBA? I will tell you. If not, in the ordinary case, that money needs to be repaid back to me. If it is repaying back, or if the money to be repaid back is there, that will be taken care by bankers to issue. So these are the general functions. All these would be performed by the intermediaries who are the different regulatory bodies within the new issue market. So all these will be regarded as the functions of primary market. That is origination, where you go with company deciding about going with a public issue or private issue or any type of approaching capital from the market, any source of resourcing capital from the market. And that whole entire process is we put that under origination. And then the second one is propagation, or something called as informing the stakeholders about this process. That starts with informing the regulators. After obtaining the permission, it would be informed to the prospective group of investors. Maybe to, if it is private placement, as I said, it would be to a particular group of people, or if it is public, it will be a mass communication that will be happening across the different channels of communication. Then underwriting is something just to ensure that the company receive the minimum subscription to proceed with the issue process. And distribution is nothing but the distribution of the actual, if it is share, the actual shares to the investors. If it is debenture, the actual document, debenture document, and then receiving the money. All that will be involved under the step of distribution. So these are the functions of the broader functions, okay? But as we learn more and more, we will learn the different small functions that are piled up to these four broad categories of functions, okay? Now the next, as I said, there are different types of underwriting. This is the last topic which we would be discussing in our today's discussion. Types of underwriting. Broadly, standby underwriting, outright purchase, joint underwriting, syndicate underwriting. There are four broad categories which I put in black color. Standby underwriting is, it said, whatever they will mention how much would be the obligation of the underwriter, but at the time of issue itself, these are applicable. These underwriters stand by, they make a condition that if not subscribed by the public, that will be taken up by the underwriters, and of course that portion will be specified, maybe to meet the minimum requirement, maybe how much they will specify in that agreement. But at the time of issue itself, it's mentioned, if not taken up by the public, if not subscribed by the public to reach the minimum, that will be taken up by the underwriters. It's a standby underwriting. Then the second category, which is very popular nowadays, is outright purchase. It's a big process where what happens here is the company is totally out of the risk of non-subscription. Now, what does this underwriters do? They will actually buy the whole thing. They will, that's why we call that as outright purchase. They'll buy the whole thing, and then what they do? They will be selling that to the ultimate investor. That is, they will be making the issue. So from the company's angle, they are in a much safer zone. And underwriters, they will take up the responsibility of making it available to the public. So if not subscribed, then if the company share does not receive the minimum subscription, that will remain as a responsibility of the underwriter. But how is it different from standby underwriting and outright underwriting is? In case of standby, the actual process of issue is taken up by the company itself. In the event of not being received or not getting the minimum subscription, at that time, the underwriters step in. Okay, that is in case of standby. But in case of outright, the underwriters are there in the picture from the beginning of the issue. Actually, they are the people who buy from the from the company, and they would be actually doing the communication and the distribution process. So that's what we call as outright purchase. Joint underwriting is if the company is going with a big issue, large amount, huge volume of fund. In that case, sometimes underwriting the whole thing would be very risky for one person, one underwriter, one group. So what they do is these underwriter, the main underwriter will be engaging in sub underwriting. They will take up, then they will form another agreement with small, 2 or 3 underwriters who will take up, who will share the risk with the main underwriter. But the point of contact here, generally here is the main underwriter with the company. Okay, they will be having a contract. It can be standby or outright, but normally it is standby. They will be having a first agreement with the company, and then the main underwriter will be sub underwriting this to the small underwriters. Now, what is the basic intention here? They are trying to minimize the risk involved in that. Because if it is a big issue, it will be a huge burden on the underwriting company in the event of not receiving the minimum subscription. So in order to come away or come out from all that huge risk, they will be just delegating that to, of course, these small underwriters would be agreeing for the underwriting business for a commission, definitely. So what the main underwriter will do, they will share a portion of the commission which they receive from the company to these small underwriters. That's how it happens. But syndicate underwriting, the concept is same. But here, there is a formal underwriting agreement and a syndicate is formed between a group of underwriters at the time of first agreement with the company itself. So all of them will be having primary contact with the company. It's not one big underwriter subcontracting it to different underwriters. It's not like that. The company itself is having an agreement with a syndicate of underwriters. And the burden is huge. They will form a syndicate. They will officially sign an agreement, and all of these underwriters are answerable to the company according to the agreement. So that's where we talk about syndicate underwriting. So there is the key for you to remember. I have put the keywords in red. That is, they have a formal agreement where they have formed a syndicate, and then this syndicate will be taking up the responsibility of underwriting the issue if there is a need, right? So these are the various types of underwriting. That is, we will have standby underwriting out at the time of issue itself. They will go with the underwriting agreement. Outright is purchase the whole issue, and then the whole distribution will be taken up by the underwriters. And then joint, there will be main underwriter who will take up the responsibility, and then there is actually a sub underwriting that is happening as an agreement between the main underwriter and the other members. Then syndicate underwriting, here what you have to remember is more or less like joint underwriting, but what you have to remember is here there is a syndicate, here there is a formal agreement, and all of them would be responsible to the company according to the agreement. That is underwriting. So in a nutshell, today we introduced about the new issue market, the functions of the new issue market, and also the types of underwriting. So we said new issue market is part of capital market, where every security for resourcing fund, they are brought to the new issue market for the first time. And after that, it is taken up to the stock exchange, or as we call secondary market. And then we talk about the requirements to participate in an new issue market from an investor perspective, where we said generally, of course, you have to have good track record, good credit score, all these things, because there will be a primary vetting that will be made by your depository participants and all. But generally, what they ask is you have to have a permanent account number, bank account in your name, and also a dematerialized account opened with a broker. Then we talked about the function. We said the functions can be categorized into 4. 1, the origination, right? We said Origination talks about the feasibility study, analyzing the position, the technical and financial feasibility, all these. And then you go with the process of actual implementation, where you will have to go with informing, right? You will have to go with clarifying or informing with submission of various documents, and the document starts with submission of the red herring prospectus with the Security Exchange Board of India. And once you go with all the formalities of getting sanctioned, then you go with an agreement with underwriting. Underwriting is a case where you make an agreement as a company. From a company perspective, the company will make an agreement with an underwriting company so that if the company's issue does not receive the minimum subscription, then that risk can be borne by the underwriters, and they render the service for a commission. Okay, so that is what we call as underwriting. And then finally, it goes with the distribution, the actual distribution of the shares or instruments, whatever, debentures or bonds, whatever be the instrument that is being brought for the first time to the new issue market. Then we had a discussion about types of underwriting, where we said broadly it can be categorized into four. One is standby underwriting, outright underwriting, then we call joint underwriting, and the syndicate underwriting. Standby, it is there at the time of inception of the deed itself. Outright, you purchase, the underwriters purchase the whole issue and they go with the distribution process. So the whole responsibility of getting it sold or receiving the minimum subscription is all transferred to the underwriting company. Joint underwriting is you will have a group of people who will bear the responsibility. And then this concept is put into an agreement where each one of them would be responsible as per the agreement, that we will call as a syndicate underwriting.